All right, that's my cue. So we'll get going and Wendy will continue to let people in. But for those who don't know me, I am Vicki Bush Joseph, and I'll be your moderator for tonight's event, the Together Women Rise June webinar. I'm a volunteer regional leader for the Midwest, and I'm a member of our Western Springs, Illinois chapter. Just a couple of reminders, two and a quarter years into Zoom, but just a couple of reminders. Put yourself on mute, keep yourself on mute, please. If you haven't already entered into chat where you're from, please do. And whether you're new to Together Women Rise, and you might want to switch to speaker view versus gallery view to focus on the speakers here. Each month, actually first, I know that we have some new people joining us tonight. So before we get started, I would like to tell you a little bit about us. Together Women Rise is a powerful community of women and allies dedicated to achieving global gender equality. We have hundreds of local chapters across the US where members learn about gender equality issues, give grants to organizations that empower women and girls in low-income countries, and build community to forge meaningful connections with each other and with women and girls around the world. Please visit our website at togetherwomenrise.org for more info and for ways you can get involved. Each month, Together Women Rise features a project that addresses one of the many challenges faced by women and girls in low-income countries around the world. We award these projects a featured grant of between $35,000 to $50,000, and together at this national webinar and at chapter meetings all across the US, we learn about the country, the challenges, and how the project will help women and girls and global gender equality. This month, we are partnering with Project Soar to help vulnerable girls in Morocco stay in school, avoid child marriage, and gain skills for future employment. Project Soar's focus on helping marginalized teen girls, some with physical and mental disabilities, to become their own change agents has been highly successful in challenging gender norms, overcoming barriers to higher education, and creating the leaders of tomorrow. First, we're going to play a short video about the project, and then I'll introduce our guest speaker from Project Soar.
ديك الساعه في سيزيام كنت بغيت نتزوج ديك الساعه صافي، وكان داكشي لا ارادي، ما كنتش باغي، ما كنتش قادره نقول انا ما بغيتش. موراها بقيت راسي ما لقيتش شي حد معايا، ولكن مع الوقت قبل ما نجي اصلا البروجي هادشي طرا ليا، تبدلت لي الفكره ديالي، بقيت كنقول لا، خديت انا كلمه واحده ما بدلتهاش، وملي جات البروجيكت سور نسيت ديك الفكره اصلا، ونسيت داكشي اللي كان عندي. المشكل تاعي قبل كان عندي مشكل في التواصل مع الناس، وبالضبط السبب تاعو هو انني كان عندي مشكل في النطق. كنت مثلا نقدش
جيت تغيرت فيا شحال من حاجه، وليت كنعرف القيمه ديالي والصوت ديالي والطريق ديالي والحقوق ديالي، وليت كنعرف كل شيء.
شي هضره ولا كنت دايزه في الشارع وهضر معايا شي واحد ولا تحرش بيا شي واحد ما كان، ولكن ملي تعلمت فينا في بروجيكت سور انني ما خاصنيش نخلي شي واحد يهين كرامتي ولا يطيح.
انا بغيت نقول ليه شي حاجه ما كنحسش اني تمشي نقولها لماما، عاد نمشي نقولها ليه هو،
وفتحت لي القلب ديالها، وليت تنحس بواحد الانسان اخرى اللي ولات عندها جرأه ايجابيه.
ما يمكنش شي واحد
وندير طب الاسنان.
بغيت نفتح على العمل الجمعوي بحال بيزنس وومن.
في المستقبل بغيت نكون صحفيه.
حاليا يعني في المستقبل القريب كيبان لي بانني خاصني هو الاول نقاد راسي، يعني نعرف شكون انا ونقلب على ذاتي نحققها هو الاول.
That's awesome. What a great video. The picture tells 1,000 of, it was, we learned a lot. Our guest speaker tonight is Katie Dowling, Director of Finance and Administration at Project Soar. Katie is a dedicated financial director with 20 plus years of experience leading the financial planning, budget management, internal accounting, and fiscal balancing for international development initiatives that inspire, motivate, and empower women and girls around the globe. She has rich experience working in the nonprofit sector, overseeing finances for the successful implementation of multi-million-dollar humanitarian aid projects. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much, Vicky. I am so honored to be here among you who all prioritize women and girls empowerment. And we at Project Soar want to thank Together Women Rise for supporting our organization this year. With a grant from Together Women Rise, we will be able to support 10 locations in Morocco, and that will be more than 200 girls who will experience this life-changing empowerment program. The program itself is an after-school extracurricular program that takes 1 academic year to complete. So I've pulled a few visuals that I'll share with you. It says disabled participant screen sharing. I'll just
it's fixed now. You're able to share now.
Wow, that was fast. Thank you. So very quickly, our core target population, we collect a lot of data, and we use a data software dashboard to collect sites on, or collect information on all of our sites. So we know that the average Project Soar girl lives on less than $1 a day. The typical father finished middle school and is a day laborer, and her mother usually completed elementary school and is a non-reader. So that's the average Project Soar girl. And we know that teen girls in Morocco and many other countries are vulnerable to these three indicators, which we follow closely. One is their vulnerability to child marriage, their period poverty, which means their family can't afford the products that they need to manage their period, and they usually stay home from school when they're menstruating, missing school and slowly falling behind, which becomes a slippery slope to early dropout. And early dropout is usually the predecessor to the child marriage. So we have the 25 workshops that you heard about in the video that are organized into these 5 modules. The program builds soft skills. So we're talking mindset, confidence, public speaking, goal setting. And each one falls into one of 5 modules. So value is the core concept of understanding that a girl is equal to a boy. And this is really eye-opening discussion for a lot of them. We work a lot on voice, on how to get clear about what it is that they want and how to advocate for themselves. The body is an important module. We distribute menstrual underwear. So each girl in the program receives 2 pairs of menstrual underwear that will last for 3 years. And they can wash and hang on a line without any embarrassment. Rights, we include knowledge of the right to be free from sexual harassment and the right to be free from early or forced marriage. Project Soar is very involved with the legal changes in Morocco. We have an advocacy campaign, which is closing the final legal loopholes to child marriage in Morocco. So we talk about how they're protected by international law and a path of seeing their future in something that is unique to them rather than the examples that they've been given. So many Project Soar girls never imagined a future for themselves other than getting married after high school before they join Project Soar. So these 10 sites that Together Women Rise is supporting will receive the training, the period underwear, all of the supplies. And I really liked this visual because of the 25 workshops, we use neuroscience techniques, which are designed to change the mindset and the nervous system to facilitate real, lasting personal change. So we have the opening circle, affirmations and education, and activity, meditation and visualization, every single workshop, journaling. So that's one of the important supplies in every workshop, and a closing circle. So the closing circle, you might have heard the girls chant. They chant in Arabic and English. I am strong. I am smart. I am capable. I am a leader. I am a feminist. Girl power. And honestly, you will never hear that without getting goosebumps with often 40, 50 young girls who are feeling that and believing that for the first time, and even more convinced to be shouting it alongside their friends. So that is the organization of the curriculum and the structure of each workshop. Project Soar itself is led by women and girls. Mariam and I started the organization in 2016. We were friends and colleagues for many years before that. And we have 13 women on our staff and one man who's in the finance side. So we're definitely conceived by, managed by, implemented by women, which is not to mention the facilitators. This gives you the idea of all of the locations, 28 active regions as of right now. This is our average year, where we're providing 190,000 hours of empowerment. And we typically have around 4,000 girls per year and a couple hundred facilitators. And there are so many stories of how Project Soar has changed people's lives. I wanted to highlight a couple for you before I take your questions. So let's see, I really liked this one from Aziza. So she's also talking about how she never knew anything except for a future of getting married after high school. And since she went to Project Soar, she started to contemplate university and think about the value she could bring to her family as an income earner. That is always a valuable debate argument that we arm the girls with, to remind their fathers and their family that if they do become a professional, they will contribute financially. And Aziza went from thinking that she would be married at age 18 to pursuing university and being elected into local government. So she's now the vice secretary to the president in our local village. So we're incredibly proud of her, and she is one of many. This is Project Soar impact data from last year, how we can see that 97% of Soar girls passed the school year ahead of the national average. 100% of them passed the baccalaureate, which is the exam to continue on to higher education. And what's really interesting is we have less than 1% of SOAR girls dropping out of school, compared to the national average of 26%. And another one of my favorite statistics is that every single one of our Project SOAR girls decided to go to university, which is an incredibly high rate compared to the national average of 39% of girls graduating high school, continuing on to university in Morocco. And finally, we will fight for every single girl to finish high school and not be married underage. So the national average is about 14% of girls are married, 17 or below, and we have 0.4%. So this is a snapshot into the Project SOAR program, how we structure it, and the impact. And I'm just 1 minute over. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll be happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Katie. Please don't worry about that 1 minute. You did awesome. Great presentation. Like someone said in the chat, amazing stats on the success of your organization. It's very, very impressive. So I do have some questions for you from the chat. There's a few themes that sort of came out, but first off, just clarifying a couple of bits of basic information. What is the age range of the girls that you're working with?
12 to 19.
Okay. And what specific area of Morocco? I know you put up the map and 28 regions, but you know, it looked like it was more a certain you know, side of Morocco. Is it urban, rural areas? Can you talk just a little bit more about where you're working right now?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that question. That's true. It's rural and semi-rural. So we don't work in the cities proper. We find that there's an additional degree of isolation and dropout in rural and semi-rural areas. That's more urgent, and that's where we focus.
That's great. So there's a question that came up that I love to have our speakers ask. So you mentioned that you and Miriam started Project Soar. Tell us a little bit about your story leading up to that, and how did you first develop the idea, and why in Morocco, and why young girls? We love to hear your origin story.
Oh, that's fun. So in 2002, it was my first day of having a professional job out of university. And I was hired to work with Mariam on our first ever project, which was supporting the first 35 women ever to serve in the Moroccan parliament. Their seats were mandated by a dictate from the king, and they had no experience. So our organization, which Mariam and I have worked at 3 different organizations together now over the years, but at this particular organization, they were organizing a roundtable, bringing women parliamentarians from Finland and South Africa to mentor the Moroccan women parliamentarians. And I'll never forget that the parliamentarian from Finland talked about achieving gender parity in their government and what that looked like, where they put in a daycare in the parliament building. The dress code was more casual. They all left at 5 o'clock and went home to their families, versus the competitive, stay late, male only environment that they came out of. And in South Africa, they were at the point of advocating just for a women's bathroom in the parliament building. So this first day on my job was so moving and such an eye-opening experience of the global status of women's equality that Mariam and I have been working together from many different angles over the years on this issue. And Project Soar is our baby. So yeah, we started it in her backyard, literally from a tent. And we started out with $30,000 scrapped together with our friends, the board of directors being our friends. And now we are over $500,000 a year. And we just got a brand new board of directors that includes a lot of impressive people that we've never met before, like the VP of marketing for Peloton. We're like, wow, you're applying to be on our board. That's amazing. So our growth has been breathtaking. We feel like we're always on a growth curve, because we are, but it's really fun to do it with someone who's one of my best friends in the world, which is Mariam.
That's awesome. Like I say, I love hearing those kind of stories, and so do many of the people who asked for it in the chat. So there was a couple of other things that came out. One was about the parents, and how is this program received by the parents? How is, these girls, sort of finding their voice and being empowered? How is that received? And are the parents involved at all in the program?
Yes, that's a good question. It's a vital piece of the success. We always have orientation for the parents, and the parents sign their authorization for the girl to participate. We have something called a mother's tea, where we bring the mothers in and are able to talk a little more candidly about things like menstruation, sexual harassment. And then our final family involvement piece is what we call a community dialogue, where the girls invite their families and also, the neighboring businesses or the local government authorities. And the girls choose the topic. So they have chosen things like domestic violence and activities for girls. It's a wide ranging choice, but always something pertinent to their lives that they want to discuss with their community. And very often the parents are in awe of seeing their daughters stand up and speak about their concerns for the community, how they'd like things to be different. And most parents leave saying things like, "That's true, I think that's right. If my daughter ends up in a domestic abuse situation, I am going to support her and not assume that's just status quo." And making comments where they're having breakthroughs, so impressed with their daughter. So absolutely, we have those three things: the parent orientation, mother's tea, and community dialogues to involve the families.
It's great. The other question that's come up several times is about what happens to the girls after the completion of the program. Now, I think you did, before that question got asked, or before you finished the presentation, you said at the end that like 100% of the girls go on to higher education. But if you could talk a little bit about, what kinds of professions these girls are going into and, what's available to them.
Yes, well, we have what we call a girl leader network. And this is what we called our collaboration with Together Women Rise, was the Girl Leadership Program. And this is when alumni of the program become the facilitators of the younger girls coming into the program. And they also start to connect across chapters to do activities, inter-chapter activities, which I'm sure they could learn a lot from you, because it sounds like you have a very thriving multi-chapter collaboration and communication. So I'm curious how you guys organize, because we are looking to support our alumni networks in such a way that they remain engaged and remain leaders. But we are trying to improve our data tracking of what becomes of them, 5 years later. And that's an active discussion on our team.
Well, I love the idea of maybe finding some way that our two communities could maybe, work together on some sort of network or mentoring. We'll have to talk more about that. That could be very exciting. A couple of other quick questions before we wrap up. How supportive are the royal family of this program? Do you know?
No, that's such a good question. I think that's belies some knowledge of Morocco, which is, there's the decision maker in Morocco that influences everything, and which is, of course, the king. We have met with Lala Jumana, who was the Moroccan ambassador to the US, and is the cousin of the king. And she was very supportive. Just personally, she hasn't spent time or funds, but really, I suppose, gave her blessings. And we have a couple of our locations are in the Royal Center for Women's Activities. There's certain little community centers in different villages that we use that are maintained by the royal family. But we aspire to get more on their radar. We have had a grant from the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and we are negotiating a grant with the Ministry of Women's Affairs. So we also have a partner, the UNFPA, that really gets a lot of movers and shakers around the table. So we're kind of making our way onto their radar, I would say. And it's a process. But I do feel like the king is in support generally of basic equality and would be in support of child marriage.
Well, that's great. I think we're going to wrap up there. If you're able to stay on, there were a couple of other questions that maybe you can try to answer in the chat to those people who posed them.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're fairly basic questions that you could respond to. But I'm going to thank you very much for spending some time with us and giving us such a great presentation of your organization. I think this is going to be an exciting project for our chapters to talk about this month. And the photos that you shared with us are just fantastic of these girls just raising their arms, and then with the tug of war, and really showing their power, and we love that. So thank you for sharing, and I'm going to turn it back over to Vicki for our next sort of pilot experiment with doing this cooking demonstration. So hope you can stay, Katie.
Thank you so much.
And I hope the rest of you all can stay too, because we are going to try something different tonight. But first, to echo Wendy, Katie, thank you so much for being with us tonight and sharing information about the work that you and your organization are doing to empower teen girls in Morocco. We're proud to partner with you, and we look forward to the impact that we will make together. We are going to try something a little different tonight with our first online cooking demonstration. Food has always been a central part of our chapter meetings. We create a special bond and a sense of community when we come together and share a meal. Food is also part of our learning experience. Many of our chapters enjoy preparing traditional dishes from the country being featured using our online library of recipes and our popular monthly blog, The Proven Platter. So tonight we have one of our volunteer recipe curators, Vinola Vincent Munyon. Vinola, how do you pronounce your last name?
You got it right.
Awesome. Okay. And Vinola's here to talk with us about the cuisine of this month's featured country, Morocco, and to provide us with a short cooking demonstration. Vinola will be making a Moroccan-inspired harissa and honey carrot chickpea salad, which sounds wonderful. And we will share this recipe in the chat and on the website. Welcome, Vinola.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vinola Vincent Munyon. I'm the writer of the culture and cuisine piece that goes out every month. I'm also, as mentioned, the recipe co-curator. So it's two of us, Georgia Reader and me, who alternate every other month, developing recipes that go out to our members that reflect the country that we're supporting that month. So this is, again, as we've mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and say this is our first time doing this, and the time is limited. So I'm going to let you know that I'm not going to be turning on the stove and doing things over there, much as I would love to make a lamb tagine. I love lamb tagines, and I would have loved to make one, but we are short on time. So I went the route of a salad. It's hot. You don't have to turn on, you don't have to slave at the stove for this. And I thought it would be perfect to do in the little time that we have. It's a Moroccan-inspired dish in that when I was doing the research for writing about the culture and cuisine in Morocco, a lot of the dishes in Morocco seem to incorporate the protein, a lot of fresh vegetables, dried fruits and nuts, and possibly a grain. It seems like they incorporate all that into sort of like a one-pot meal. Like, for example, if you take the tagine, that's how it is. So I came up with the idea of looking at ingredients that you would find typically in any Moroccan kitchen pantry and pulling those together into a salad to create sort of like a one-pot meal. So it has, it's a carrot, chickpea salad with the harissa honey dressing. And I emphasize inspired, Moroccan inspired, because this is not a traditional Moroccan dish. It has all the ingredients you would find in a Moroccan pantry, but it is not a dish that you find there. There is a carrot salad, which consists of carrots diced into points, slightly blanched, and then mixed in with herbs. But this is a raw carrot salad. So I'll first go over all the ingredients of the salad. I'm hoping, I almost thought maybe I should set up 2 devices so you can see what I have on my plate and then you can also hear me. But this is the first time, so let's not be too ambitious is what I told myself. So this is grated carrots. I went with rainbow carrots because I'm Indian and we're extra about our food. So I did the rainbow carrots so that you could see all the different colors, but you could just go with orange carrots. I will channel Einar Garten and say the one thing you should not use. Please do not use the pre-shredded or grated package of carrots that we get at the grocery store. They are great for a lot of things. They are great if you're using them in a recipe where you're going to cook them, but you don't want to use them in a salad like this where the carrot is the star. You want the carrot to be fresh, you want it to be juicy, and you don't get that with the pre-bagged shredded carrots. So we're going with fresh grated carrots. I have about 6 cups here. The next ingredient is couscous. Couscous is the staple grain that is used in Moroccan cooking. When we say grain, we often think of it like rice or farro, but this is not, couscous is not a seed. It is actually a very tiny pasta. It is made out of semolina and durum wheat, so it's actually a tiny pasta. But it is the staple grain used in Morocco. So I'm going to add that as the grain to the salad. If you want to do this as a gluten-free dish, you could omit that, but this makes it a little hearty. The next ingredients I have are the dried fruits and nuts. So I have dried cherries. These are they add that little bit of tartness and sweetness to the salad because the carrots make it sweet. So the cherries give it a little bit of tartness. You could use dried prunes. You could use even raisins. Any of those would work. The other thing I have is slivered almonds. I just slightly toasted them on the stovetop so that they have a little bit of crunch. And then I have some finely diced fresh cilantro and mint. Now, if you do not like cilantro, and that is a real thing, there are some people who have the genetic ability to taste cilantro as soap. So if you do not like cilantro, go ahead and substitute it with parsley. Oh, and the chickpeas, rather than just throw them in, sorry, I'm reaching into my oven to get the chickpeas, I drained a can of chickpeas and then just dried it on some paper towels and then threw it in the oven with some olive oil and salt at 425 degrees for about 20 minutes. So that makes it really crispy. So that adds that extra crunch to the salad because all the carrots are like the predominant thing. The carrots and the couscous are going to make it kind of soft. So this adds sort of that textural difference to it. So I'm just going to throw all of that in this big salad bowl. So we have the carrots. I haven't mentioned measurements of all of these. And it makes me laugh a little about that because as I mentioned before, I'm Indian. And in Indian cooking, you usually have recipes have ingredients, but they tend to not have measurements. And if you usually ask an elder, say your grandma or your aunt, how much of that should we add? They would say, andase. And what that translates to is essentially as you wish or your guess. So everything is, I mean, the best translation I could think of that is per taste. Everything is per taste. It's not just salt and pepper. Every ingredient that you use is per taste. So there's no like precise measurements. But I do have precise measurements for these, and I will post it so you know, so you don't have to do the Indian guesstimate style of cooking. I'm going to add all of this in here and then make the dressing. Really like all the colors that it adds. It's a very colorful and very textural salad. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So that's everything plated in the salad bowl. And the next thing I have is just how are we on time? Because I could either make this dressing or I made it ahead.
You're good, Vinola. You're
okay. Am I talking too fast?
Listen, you are perfect. You have a new career. I think the talent scouts are going to be recruiting you for HGTV or the Food Network or something.
Well, that PhD came to some use, didn't it? So for the salad dressing, the ingredients that I'm using, again, I'll tell you the ingredients first so you know. So this is something, when we are writing these recipes for the members, we have to get a little creative. We do have to research the recipes, but we can't copy them, which is why we often see what are the ingredients used in that country, and then we use those ingredients to try and make something. So one of the harissa is very common in the North, is a commonly used paste, chili paste in North African countries. It originated in Tunisia, but Morocco also has its version. So you can see I have Moroccan harissa. You can make harissa at home, but I found this at the store. So I went the cheat route of getting the Moroccan harissa. It's a chili paste and it has other condiments added in as well, some spices, some oil, some tomato. I think the Tunisian version has tomato, the Moroccan doesn't. I'll have to check that. So we have harissa paste, and then we have honey, raw honey, and then lemon, orange, olive oil, and salt. These are all going to go into the vinaigrette. The harissa has heat. It is chili peppers that have been dried chili peppers, which have been reconstituted in water and then ground into a paste. So it has some heat. It also has the vibrant color. So this would definitely be an andasse, add depending on how much heat you can handle. But this salad also, we are also using honey and we're using orange juice, which are all sweet. So the harissa and the sweetness of these two actually balance out. I'm used to Indian food, which is pretty spicy, but I would say when you mix all of these together, it does not tend to be very spicy. It's a nice balance of flavors. There's some heat and then it's also sweet. So I went with 3 tablespoons of harissa. Add 1, 2, and 3 tablespoons of harissa, and then we are going to do 2 tablespoons of honey. Having some trouble opening that, so I'm just going to grab another box of honey. Again, this is you want the raw honey, not the good kind. Get 2 tablespoons of honey, and then we are going to add some lemon juice and zest of lemon if you want it to be a little tart. I'm not going to zest today, but you can add the zest as well. One thing I've learned through experience, if you're going to add zest and juice, always zest before you juice. You are going to get very mad if you juice a lemon and then try to zest it. It does not make for an easy experience. So we are going to add 1 tablespoon of the lemon juice. And then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of the orange juice. The orange juice and the honey together add the sweetness. The lemon juice is sort of like the acidic element, and it helps emulsify it a little bit too. If you have any questions or you just have any comments, feel free to ask me. I can't look at the screen though, so you'd have to turn on the microphone.
I'm just getting comment after comment about how much people are enjoying this. But if anyone does have questions, pop them in the chat and I'll keep an eye out and throw them out to you, Vanilla. If one thing they were asking about the recipe, and I said I would get it from you and post it on the website and on our social media over the weekend.
Absolutely.
Here's a good question. Why raw honey? And how is it different from cooked honey?
So that's one of the aspects of trying to stay true to the region we are representing. They use raw honey, so which is why. And in terms of taste, it just has a more robust flavor.
And what about you mentioned that the harissa sauce that you found it in the grocery store, specialty store, or can you find it, at most stores?
Names?
I would think so.
I found it at Whole Foods.
Okay.
So I added 1/4 cup olive oil and gave it a nice shake. And that's the dressing. It looks pretty red because I added 3 tablespoons of the harissa, but you can go lighter on it if you'd like. The harissa is a very red paste because it's red chilies. But it doesn't have the pungent spicy flavor. It's the most subtle flavor. And this here is our salad pre-dressing, and I'm just going to drizzle the harissa dressing on it. So it's a little thick. I think I might not have added enough lemon as I was talking to you guys and measuring it out. I might have not measured right. My Indian forefathers will be happy. And then we just toss it up, and voila, you have your chickpea, carrot, couscous salad with a harissa honey dressing. And you can go as heavy or as light as you want. I'm going very light right now because it is 9 p.m. We've all had dinner. So this way I can have this tomorrow. It is a salad who's, the kind of salad that as it sits, its flavors do develop really well. It soaks up all the honey so it tastes really good, but at the same time, I don't want to do it to the point where it gets soggy tomorrow when I want to have it for lunch. But you can absolutely make it ahead and then have it, but it's a rather easy thing to make. So that's what it looks like. It's a gorgeous salad with lots of different textures and different complementary flavors and full of good stuff.
Vanola, that was, I wish I lived by you. I'd be over right now because it's earlier in the central time zone and I actually haven't eaten yet. That looks fabulous.
So when I tried this, I had to tweak it a few times and I was like, the salad is really the combination of the harissa, the honey, and the citrus I mean, with the sweetness of the orange, the slight tartness of the lemon, and then the spiciness of the dressing really does great for this. And I really like the crispy chickpeas and the carrots and the cherries together. They go well.
Well, you've done all of the hard work for us. So now all we have to do is follow the recipe. And I love harissa. So thank you so much. Great idea to have this segment for all of us. And I think we're almost ready to wrap up. Let me give a couple of final announcements for everybody. Don't forget, everybody, that Together Women Rise depends on your donations to fund projects like the one you heard about tonight, as well as all of our education and engagement activities. You can go to our website, togetherwomenrise.org, to make a single donation or to set up monthly giving and support Together Women Rise's work all year round. And then a couple things coming up. I'm super excited. There's a couple of us on the call tonight who are on the book club committee. And our next event is next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. That's noon Eastern time, 11 a.m. Central. And we'll be discussing the book, The Girl with the Louding Voice. Note that this is a different time than usual because we are honored to have the author, Abby DeRay, join us from her home in the UK. So it's a free event, open to everyone. Please invite a friend. We do have a great turnout so far. People registered for that, but really, really looking forward to that. Don't have to read the book or finish the book before next Wednesday to participate either. You can finish the book after. And then our next advocacy group webinar will be Tuesday, June 21st at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, 7:30 Central. Be sure to check our website for info on all of our upcoming events. Click on the Join Us tab, and that's where you'll find information on how to register for all of these events and access the recordings of past events. And will that include the recording? Is that how we get Wendy to the recording for tonight as well?
Yes, absolutely. And I was just typing something in the chat. So go to Join Us, upcoming events, and right at the top of the page is a button that takes you to recordings of past events. All of our events are recorded and posted there. It usually takes us about a day to get the recording up on YouTube, but give us that day and it'll be there.
Okay, because I saw in the chat somebody was asking whether the cooking demo would be recorded as well. So yeah, you can queue that up and share it with your chapter. I think you've given us all a great idea, especially those of us who are still Zooming, of some. Actually, we could do it in person too. We're gonna try some cooking demos. How cool! All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. What a great evening, and look forward to seeing many of you next week on our book club call. Take care. Good night.
Night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Excellent, Vinola.
Good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vinola.
We appreciate the time and the information and everything and the recipe.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night,
That was just excellent.
Nice.
Oh,
Excellent.
thank you, Wendy. Thank
The
you.
camera setup, the visuals,
The
your
explanation, she took her time.
bang on.
Love it,
bang
love it,
on.
love it.
That's just because we do write the culture and cuisine piece. So that
Well, I'm
helps.
gonna write Martha Stewart and tell her we have a new person.
Absolutely. I mean, but you have to give us, first right of refusal because,
course.
we don't want
Of
to
course.
lose you, but, you've opened up lots of things in my mind, Vinola.
Awesome. That's what we
Ideas.
want, right? We want more engagement. So
Well,
was great.
everyone loved it. Everyone loved it.
It was wonderful.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Vicky.
Vicky.
Vicky, you did a great job as usual,
Thank
and
you. Thank
she will be moderating the book club next week as well. So she's doing double duty for us. And
It's my
Vicky
mom.
secured Abby DeRay for us. So
Yeah.
I tracked her down and then I wouldn't let go. I'm like, time change, no problem. You know,
She was wonderful. She was
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank
Good.
you all so much for joining us tonight.
all right.
Night,
thanks.
everyone.
See you next
Good
week.
night.
Bye.
Bye.